I want to talk about how we feel post-ceremony. These past few days, I've been feeling very unmotivated, low on energy. I have not been able to get through a workout, and I've really just been spending time sitting with what has been coming up instead of trying to judge myself for not being able to give it my all. Not every ceremony is the same. This is something that I've been reminded of and made aware of throughout my time communing with these sacred plant medicines. Every experience will unlock something different within ourselves. And this past ceremony was very heavy, very dark, but also very humbling for me. I felt like I was being reminded of a lot of the things that I tend to forget about myself. It was like a coming home back to myself, really bringing awareness into the ways that I'm showing up, not only for myself, but for others, in the ways that I'm speaking, in the ways that I'm holding silence, and in the ways that I allow others to speak as well. Sometimes when someone is speaking and it is something that resonates with me, I also have something to say, along the lines of like, yes, I agree. And then I want to start putting in my 2 cents. But what is the need to always feel like I have something to say? Sometimes the best thing that we can do is allow others to speak while we just listen. Just holding space and silence to allow others to be. Others speaking does not take away from our ability to be seen. It does not take away from our ability to be heard. So that was a great reminder. I also want to speak a little bit on some personal opinions I have within this medicine path. I know a lot of people are feeling called to serve these sacred medicines, and sometimes when we come into this space, we feel very excited about the things that we have learned and all the changes that we have implemented in our life. And we feel very strongly in wanting to share that with the world. And some people feel like that is their call to action, as far as feeling the need to serve these medicines because of how strongly I feel. And I understand that, but I think that sometimes we forget the impact we can make just by showing up. The most important thing that we have is our energy, and the most valuable thing that we have is our time. So just showing up and giving our time makes such a huge difference in how we serve others. There is such an urgency in wanting to do things so quickly for some people that I think we forget all of the ancestral wisdom that comes with these sacred plant medicines. How can we really tune in to that wisdom, that ancient wisdom of the earth, and serve in a way that is ethical? Just because you take a weekend workshop, just because you do a retreat or you go to the jungle to do a dieta, doesn't necessarily qualify you to serve these medicines. It is a huge responsibility. And that is something that I was reminded of over the weekend. And again, it comes back to personal integrity, because there are so many tools being sold online that anyone can just buy something off of Amazon, eBay, and we can just start waving it around like we know what we're doing. But in reality, I feel like that is a disrespect to the lineage of all of the indigenous people that have cultivated and sourced these practices. How can we put ourselves in the seat of just being a student? If it's something that is meant to happen, it'll happen regardless of how fast you think you need to move. It is a rite of passage, and I think that we need to look at the people that are serving so quickly and really look at the sense of urgency behind this person. What is the need to serve something so quickly without any real apprenticeship, any knowledge, any real training. It's about doing things the right way. And I know many people will be like, okay, but what is the right way? There are so many things that we consider to be the right way. And yes, I agree. There are so many different ways to do things, but I think it's really looking at how things have been done for the past hundreds and hundreds of years, and how we can honor not only ourselves, but the space and everyone else around us, as well as the medicines. And when we are serving, we're not just whenever we are serving and allowing others to serve us, we forget that we are creating this energetic exchange. So when we are sitting in this space, we really need to be looking at what it is that we are truly receiving. So I think that is a valuable question to ask yourself as well. We can't change the ways that other people choose to show up. Ultimately, that is going to be based on their own personal integrity. All we can do is continue to show up, be the best versions of ourselves, and walk our path accordingly to our beliefs and our values. As I reflect back on this past weekend ceremony, I kind of wanted to share a little bit about my experience. I had a moment where I went outside and it was really cold, and I was I was the firekeeper, so I was maintaining the fire, and then it was a daytime ceremony, so it was the second day. I was just laying on the ground, connecting to Mother Earth, and I was very cold. It was, I believe, maybe in the 30s or 40s. But even then, I wanted to feel the coldness. I wanted to feel the uncomfortable moment of just sitting there, because even if it was very cold, I felt so cared for, and I felt so loved, and I felt so nurtured. In that moment, I was just thinking back of all of the areas in my life and how I've been showing up and how I can continue to be a better mother, continue to be a better friend, a better sister, a better human being, a better woman. And it was just little reminders of things that I sometimes tend to forget, like learning to put my phone down when people are speaking, being more active with my children. And there was a woman who had a very thick, beautiful coat. It wasn't a coat, it was a blanket. But we were all admiring it throughout the ceremony, right? She came and she placed the blanket over me, and it was like this like furry blanket, and it was very warm, and I just felt so cozy. And everyone ended up going inside, and I stayed out for a while, and I was just like, I don't want to move. I just want to be here, connecting to the earth. I felt also very connected to my parents, as I usually do, to my mother, to my father, honoring my ancestors and all those that came before me. And then as I went in towards the end of the ceremony, I feel like that was whenever I had more so of a harder experience, but it is not anything that haven't experienced before. I've been down this road many times, so I really am aware of whenever I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm wanting to escape certain feelings. But even then, I have to sit there and I have to surrender and I have to allow myself to feel them. So it was whenever the 𝒌𝓃𝓃𝓄𝒃 was served, maybe like 30 minutes prior to the ceremony ending is usually when the 𝒌𝓃𝓃 is served, like 30 minutes to an hour. So it was served and I immediately felt like I was, like the medicine had reactivated, and I started to feel the feeling of death, and how it feels to die, and knowing that we're all going to die one day and that this life is going to end. Just this feeling of doom and like ending. So instantly I felt like I needed to use the bathroom, and then I needed to drink water, and I needed to move, and I didn't move, not 1 inch. I was like, do not move, you're fine. There's nothing to do, there is nowhere to go. We're going to sit here and we're going to feel it. We're going to breathe, remember your breath. We're going to breathe, we're going to feel it, and we're going to surrender to the uncomfortable moments. And I did. But the mind automatically wants to start kicking in and wanting to, obviously, the ego is what keeps us safe. So it wants to take me away from that feeling of surrender, which feels endless whenever you are in that moment. If you've ever had this experience, then you know how you can be sitting in that and it feels like an eternity, like it's never ending. But of course, I always remind myself that things will always end and that things are always changing and this is only temporary, just like our emotions. Our emotions, they come and they go, and really we're supposed to feel them, acknowledge them, release them, because they'll come back again and we'll be met with different emotions. And really we're not supposed to hold on to them and take them as part of our life and personality. We're not our thoughts. We're not our emotions. And it's whenever we want to hold on to them so tightly that it can manifest into different things like depression, anxiety, and whenever we just can't let go of it, we just get so used to being in this fight or flight that we just want to stay in that. But really, I just allow myself to feel it. I let it go. And a few days after, I've just been feeling a lot of emotions coming to the surface. I've been doing a lot of crying, which is okay. I'm allowing myself to feel it because it's going to change. I've dealt with this many, many times before, and I know whenever I'm being met with uncomfortable moments that I already know the deal. It doesn't necessarily mean that it gets easier every time. I just become more aware of it every time. And I'm able to look back at things with a different sense of awareness and a new perspective, as I was also reminded of my time in the jungle with my 𝐸𝓃𝓆𝓈𝒾𝓃𝓾e. That woman is such a strong woman. She's so resilient. Her and her entire family, I love them so much. They would work from sun out to sundown all day long. All they did was work and just taking care of the property, maintaining it, making sure I had everything that I needed. And I remember there was one ceremony that her ikaros were not coming in the beginning of the ceremony. So I remember the whole ceremony, I spent it by myself in silence, and I was the only participant there. So for the first, I believe, 3 hours, I was just in silence, and that ceremony was actually one of the hardest ceremonies that I had in the jungle. I was having a whole experience of dissolving and ego death, and this is something that I've had before, but I was able to surrender to where I was if this is what death feels like, I want to feel it every time. If this is what it feels like, I can sit in this forever, because once I fully surrendered and I had no more resistance, all I could do was trust and know that eventually it would end. So I just wasn't fighting it anymore. So even though it was very challenging in the beginning and it felt tough, I eventually just let go, surrendered, and it was just the most beautiful, beautiful feeling. And towards the end, this whenever her ikaros started coming in, but she ended up drinking 3 times because she was not able to start singing. So once her ikaros were activated and she was singing way past ceremony time, and she was singing all night long, all the way up until her voice giving out. So she was up very, very late. Even as I was already sleeping, she was still singing. So the next day, she was up early with everyone else, working and moving around as she always does. And I would ask her, ¿No está cansada? Aren't you tired? Are you gonna rest? And then she would be like, yes, I will rest. I will rest whenever it is time for rest. And that is something that I always remember now. Anytime I'm feeling like I can't go on, and anytime that I'm feeling like I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. Everything feels impossible and I just want to give up. I remember I will rest whenever it is time to rest. Madre Ayahuasca, I'm so grateful for this medicine. So many beautiful teachings and lessons throughout my life. And yeah, I'm just honored to be able to be in this space and just be able to help out whenever I'm needed. Just learning to navigate as everyone else. So thank you so much for lending me your ear. Thank you so much for listening to me. I appreciate you so much. I love you, sending you good, positive energy, and I will see you soon.